We start, though, with these live visuals of the Carlton building in Jeppestown being demolished literally just moments ago. That demolition is carried out by the Johannesburg Housing Department. The building itself that, used to be there, actually it experienced 3 fires in recent years. In fact, the latest one claimed the lives of 9 people. And it's on that basis that we're told that the building had to come down. The government in Johannesburg announcing that this will now pave the way for what's being described as vertical mixed-use housing. This will accommodate about 2,000 families as part of a larger plan to uplift the precinct in the city of Johannesburg. So the Carlton building going down literally just moments ago. We had been anticipating this moment, and now it's finally taken place. Ahmed Kajee is our reporter on the story. He watched it from his vantage point at the Carlton Centre building in Johannesburg. Ahmed, take us through what's happened just moments ago. All right, we'll re-establish that connection with Ahmed Kajee in just a moment. But the city of Johannesburg announcing the demolition of this building said that, in part, it was because of this latest tragedy to take place there. 9 people, including an infant, succumbing to injuries after that 5-story building, which also housed several informal settlements, actually went up in flames. That took place on Wednesday in the week gone by. 6 out of these 9 people, we're told, died and were actually burnt beyond recognition. It's on the back of that calls began to mount about removing the building altogether. In fact, the city of Johannesburg was also concerned about the structural integrity of the building, because this latest fire, as I already mentioned, is just one of several which have, caused real pain and tragedy to people who had taken refuge there. Let's try once again to take you to Ahmed Kajee, who's actually at the Carlton Centre building, not too far from where this demolition took place. And Ahmed, I imagine your vantage point is able to take us through what this demolition actually looked like. What did you see?
Yes, thanks very much, Yanda. I hope you can hear me now loud and clear. We had started out our morning over at the Carlton Centre, and what had taken place over there, we had the Mayor Palati coming through as well. She was actually the official from the city who had pressed the button on the detonator to demolish the Kaserne building out here in the centre of Johannesburg, just outside the Jeppestown region as well. Thankfully, what the MMC for housing, what their department had arranged for the media personnel was to come towards the M2 East, just after the Joe Slovo off-ramp. And what we had seen over there was our vantage point, and that's exactly where the visuals which you had seen. And on the dot of 10 o'clock this morning, we had seen the 5-floor Kaserne building being demolished and imploded on that front. One of the important things around this particular implosion was based on the fact that it was a non-electronic implosion. So many of the explosives were there across the main pillars and the main structural points of this particular building. Now, just to give you a bit of insight, Ayanda, as you had mentioned, we had seen a number of fires taking place over the last few years, and due to those particular fires, the structural integrity of this particular property was subsequently compromised, and that's the main reason for this particular demolition. In terms of the housing, the MMC for housing and the housing department within the city of Johannesburg, we have seen inner city rejuvenation taking place in this particular area. We have seen that with the rejuvenation of the Maboneng precinct over the last 5 to 6 years, and then subsequently Jewel City, which is just next to the Kaserne building, which has just been demolished. That has actually come up over the last 2 years, just finalizing that project just prior to the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. So this particular area is exceptionally important in terms of the inner city rejuvenation project being carried out by the city of Johannesburg. And this went across both administrations under Herman Mashaba, the late Jeffo Makuba, and now continuing under Mayoress Dr. Humpo Palati. Now, you will see as the dust tends to clear and moves towards the Johannesburg city centre and towards Carlton Centre, where we were initially based on the left-hand side of your picture. This rubble, which is in front of you now, will be getting, the construction teams will be working on it from now as soon as possible, as this particular rubble will now be used as the foundation for the upcoming multi-purpose units, which will be used for both retail, commercial, as well as residential property as well. And this is characteristic of exactly what we had seen with the Jewel City as well as the Maboneng precinct, being a place for residences to come across, restaurants coming up, as well as businesses and commercial property. So it seems the city of Johannesburg, with this particular project, is continuing to revamp the entire city, starting off from the Jeppe police station, Maboneng precinct, and making all its way in towards the city of Johannesburg and the Johannesburg CBD. But an important part, what we also need to mention with regards to the structural integrity of various buildings in and around the Johannesburg CBD. We had seen in November of 2019 the Bank of Lisbon building where the Carlton Health Department was stationed. That was demolished in November of 2019 after a fire which had engulfed that building just a few months prior to that. I think, if memory serves me correct, it was in the late 2018 September. So it clearly, in terms of the structural integrity of various buildings in and around the city of Johannesburg, these are some of the concerns which will be raised with regards to the Human Settlements Department as well as the Department of Infrastructure within the Gauteng province, within the city of Johannesburg, and perhaps even at a national level as well. And Ayanda, as you will see in front of the Kaserne, where once was the Kaserne building, there is corrugated iron and these informal settlements which have come up in and around this particular area. And that just shows perhaps the extent to which people do want housing in and around the city of Johannesburg, and perhaps the lack of access to housing as well. So when we come through to this demolition of the Kaserne building, in the larger context of what we are looking at in terms of the city of Johannesburg, perhaps the 2,000 families which this particular building will be housing, it will just be very welcomed, one would assume, by the residents of the city of Johannesburg, perhaps even the people in this particular region who are living in these informal settlements. And perhaps even with the construction of this multi-purpose residential, commercial and retail property, what we will also be then seeing is job creation, which will also be stimulating the economy of the city of Johannesburg. That is a big part of what Dr. Mpho Phalatse, the mayor of Johannesburg, mentioned in her State of the City address just a few weeks ago, saying that she wants to ensure that infrastructure is improved as well as the economy. And with this particular project, these are perhaps two of those objectives which will be perhaps leading towards being achieved by the city of Johannesburg and Dr. Mpho Phalatse's office. And what we will be seeing over the next few months, like we mentioned, and the fact that this will now be turned into a multi-purpose building, and we will be engaging with Mayor Dr. Mpho Phalatse as well as the Johannesburg MMC for Housing, Mlungisi Mabaso, a bit later on this morning, to just get their thoughts and ideas of what or perhaps their idea of the demolition, and to maybe just give us a bit more insight to the upcoming projects with regards to inner city rejuvenation in and around Johannesburg. Ayanda.
Ahmed Kajee, thanks very much indeed. We're going to stay with these visuals for a short while longer. If you've just joined us, you're watching live visuals of the site where the Carlton building used to be. It was a five-story structure, I should say, that had actually been the site of several devastating fires over the past few years, the latest taking place on Wednesday, when 9 people sadly died. We're told 6 were burnt beyond recognition. And it's because of those fires that the city of Johannesburg felt that the structural integrity of the building itself had been severely compromised and that the building should go. And that's what happened at 10 o'clock on the nose today. We saw what used to be a building that's been up for years, actually literally being razed to the ground in a dramatic fashion, as you can imagine. But because this had been planned, several efforts were made to ensure that it takes place as safely as possible. As Ahmed Kajee mentioned, it's now paved the way, this demolition, for the building of a multi-purpose housing unit, which we're told will accommodate up to about 2,000 people in the Joburg inner city. All of this as part of efforts to upgrade the Joburg inner city precinct.